This happened 2 years ago on Halloween night. I was 24 at the time, and I had just gotten off a long shift at a warehouse job. It was the kind of work that leaves your whole body sore, so by the time I got home, I was ready to eat something quick and knock out for the night. I remember sitting on my couch, scrolling on my phone, when I heard a knock at my front door. It was still early, just after sunset, so I figured it was kids trick-or-treating. I grabbed the bowl of candy I had sitting on the table and walked over, but when I opened the door, there was no one there, just an empty walkway and the faint sound of kids laughing somewhere down the street. I shrugged it off as a prank and went back inside. About 10 minutes later, it happened again. Another knock. This time it was louder, more deliberate. I opened the door quicker, thinking I might catch whoever was doing it, but again, nothing. No footsteps, no shadows moving away, just silence. That's when it started to feel off. I stepped outside and looked up and down the street. A few houses still had their porch lights on, but most were starting to go dark. Halloween was winding down. I didn't see anyone nearby, so I went back inside and locked the door. I hadn't even made it back to the couch when I heard something else. A soft thud, coming from the side of the house. I froze and listened. Another thud. Not at the front door this time. This was coming from the narrow walkway that led to my backyard. Nobody ever used that side entrance. There was no reason for anyone to be there. I turned off the lights in the living room and moved slowly toward the window, keeping myself out of sight. From where I stood, I could just barely see the side gate through the gap in the blinds. At first, I didn't see anything. Then the gate shifted slightly, like someone had just let go of it. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my phone and debated calling the police, but I didn't want to overreact. Maybe it was just the wind. That thought lasted about 5 seconds, because then I heard the sound of the gate creaking open again. Slow, careful, like whoever was out there didn't want to make noise. I backed away from the window and headed toward the kitchen, trying to stay as quiet as possible. That's when I heard footsteps. Not running, not rushing. Slow, heavy steps moving along the side of my house toward the backyard. They stopped right outside the back door. I held my breath. The handle rattled. Once. Twice. Then it stopped. For a moment, everything was completely silent. And then, a voice. "Hey, I know you're in there." It was low, calm, almost casual. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The voice came again, a little louder this time. "I just want to talk. Open the door." My stomach dropped. There was something wrong with the way he said it. No urgency, no fear of being heard, just confidence. I slowly crouched down and moved toward the hallway, putting as much distance between me and that door as possible. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. Footsteps, moving away from the back door, circling. A few seconds later, I heard them again, this time on the other side of the house. He was walking around, checking for another way in. I rushed upstairs and locked myself in my bedroom, finally dialing 911 with shaking hands. I kept my voice low as I explained what was happening. The dispatcher told me officers were on the way and to stay where I was. As I sat there in the dark, listening, I heard a faint scraping sound from downstairs. Glass. He was trying a window. I covered my mouth to keep from making any noise. Every second felt like it stretched forever. The dispatcher stayed on the line, whispering to me, asking me if I could still hear him. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet again. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. I thought maybe he had left. And that's when my phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it. It wasn't the dispatcher. It was a text message from an unknown number. There was no text, just a photo. My chest tightened as I opened it. It was a picture of my house, taken from the backyard. The back door was in the frame, along with the window he had just been at, and standing in the reflection of the glass was me, upstairs, in my room. My blood went ice cold. He didn't just guess where I was. He knew. Before I could even process it, I heard something downstairs, a loud bang, then another, the sound of something hitting the back door hard. He wasn't trying to be quiet anymore. He was trying to get in. I scrambled backwards, pressing myself against the wall as the noise continued. The dispatcher's voice was louder now, telling me officers were pulling up. And just as it started, it stopped. Silence again. A few seconds later, I saw flashing red and blue lights reflecting through my window. By the time the police got inside and checked the house, he was gone. They searched the yard, the street, even the nearby houses. Nothing. No footprints, no sign of forced entry, just the marks on the back door where he'd been hitting it. I showed them the photo. They couldn't trace the number. No name, no record, just a dead line. I didn't sleep in that house for weeks after that. I had cameras installed the next day, changed my locks, did everything I could to feel safe again. But the part that still gets to me, even now, is that photo, because it means one thing I can't explain away. He didn't just show up that night. He had been watching me long enough to know exactly where I was. And sometimes, late at night, I still wonder how long he had been standing out there before I ever heard that first knock.